Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. Sean Payton did an interview with Carmen Jerko on ESPN 1000 in Chicago. And he talked about a lot, namely, as you might expect, the quarterback conversation, which is something that is ever present. And during Super Bowl week, when Sean Payton did some media availability during Super Bowl week, he said, sort of a timeline on Drew Brees, another week or two till we'd know something. And he was asked for an update on that Thursday when he was on the Carmen and Jerko show on ESPN 1000 in Chicago.
I mean, look, number one, I wouldn't speak for Drew, and we stay in touch. And in fact, we didn't just yesterday. I think we were texting. He's smart. He's going to take some time with his family. I think we'll hear something. I'm sure sooner rather than later. And look, I don't have a strong gut one way or another. I think he's always been very methodical. He'll think through everything and then make the decision. I mean, last year he considered it. I recall the conversations we had then. But I think we'll know something sooner than later.
He was also asked point blank, is Jameis Winston the next guy in line?
Well, he's not under contract. He's a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, Taysom is under contract. He's someone that will obviously have an opportunity to compete for the job. Jameis is someone that we have an interest in. That year that we had with him last year was a great opportunity for, I think, both Jameis and us for him to really get a chance to feel this program or understand what it's like and the offense. He was fantastic last year for us, as was Taysom. I mean, the two of those guys, we had a good room.
So Sean Payton continues to say, we're waiting on Drew. They got to re-sign Taysom, or re-sign Jameis. They have Taysom under contract, the only quarterback they have under contract. Now, Payton was also asked about the importance of having a good backup, which has happened the last couple of years for New Orleans, where Brees has been injured and have to rely on that guy.
2 years ago, we lost Drew for 5 weeks. Teddy Bridgewater came in and played really well. We were able to win those 5 games. And then this year, Drew was out for 4 games. Taysom stepped up, and we were able to win 3 of those 4. And, you don't know when and if an injury is going to happen, but your goal, obviously, at any position, but especially at that position, is that you can continue and have a chance to win and not be hamstrung if that happens.
So not only is replacing Drew Brees going to be a major point of emphasis this offseason, but potentially your backup quarterback situation, which could also lead New Orleans to quarterback in the draft as well, even if it's not using a first-round pick or trading up in round 1 to get a franchise quarterback, if it's someone you think can provide depth at the position. And I bring this up because there was an interesting piece that Pro Football Focus did yesterday. And this was at Pro Football Focus. It was Mike Renner who did it at Pro Football Focus. And it was all 32 NFL teams and their biggest draft mistake over the last 5 years. Now, the assumption might be that he's saying your biggest draft mistake would be someone that, you missed on, or, your biggest bust. That's not the direction he went. He went more as a thesis. And it's interesting that this is the thesis because the Saints, as he points out, have had the most successful hit rate in the NFL draft in that time period. But what Mike Renner at Pro Football Focus writes is that the Saints' biggest problem was their win-now mentality. He says the Saints have, quite objectively, been the single best team in the NFL at evaluating talent over the past 5 drafts. That's not a debate. On 28 draft picks on the last 5 years, they've acquired, and he lists Sheldon Rankins, Michael Thomas, Von Bell, David Onyemata, Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, Marcus Williams, Alvin Kamara, Trey Hendrickson, Marcus Davenport, Eric McCoy, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He writes, that's 12 high-quality starters, or a 42.8% hit rate, and that's not even accounting for what 2020 might become. So what Mike Remmers goes on to say is, imagine, if you will, What if they sustained that hit rate over more picks? The Saints mortgaged future picks left and right over the span, thinking this is the player that will get us over the top. None ever did, and now they're set for an offseason full of difficult cap decisions. Again, that's at Pro Football Focus. So there's two ways to look at that. Number one, if the Saints, I'll give you an example. One of the players he mentions is Alvin Kamara. You got Alvin Kamara in round 3, but you traded up to get Alvin Kamara. It is quite possible that if you had stood pat, you would not have had the opportunity to draft Alvin Kamara. We could look at a lot of guys on this list where the Saints traded up to get these players. They traded up to get David Onyemata. They traded up to get Marcus Davenport. This is something that the Saints, it's been their MO because they evaluated this player, and instead of letting the draft come to them, they got aggressive and went and got the guy that they felt they'd have a higher success rate. So that's why they've netted better players as opposed to waiting and then making a lesser decision or having more picks that could bust, bringing that rate down. The question is quantity or quality? Well, what the Saints got in that 2017 draft was both. And that's sort of the big outlier for New Orleans. When in that one draft, you got Lattimore and Ramczyk, and you went through that entire draft in 2017, and it was hit after hit after hit for New Orleans. And that's the thing that allowed you to build this run, this championship caliber run. Obviously, they didn't finish it off, but it allowed you to build this championship caliber run because you had all these guys on rookie contracts. Marcus Williams and Alvin Kamara and Alex Anzalone and Trey Hendrickson. Even guys like Al-Qadim Muhammad was in that draft, is still in the NFL. So speaking to Mike Renner's point, the Saints have had a tremendous hit rate, even on the guys that didn't make the team. I mentioned Al-Qadim Muhammad. Boston Scott, did you see yesterday the Lions signed Alize Mack? I mean, the Saints, even the guys they cut, stay in the league. Daniel Lasco's still in the league. So, yes, absolutely, the Saints have been objectively the best at drafting over the last 5 years. They've also had fewer draft picks because they've chosen quality over quantity, and so they've had a higher hit rate. The problem that this team may have right now is they need quantity and quality like they did in 2017, but they don't have the assets. They have a first-round pick. They're likely going to get a couple of threes because of Teddy Bridgewater and Terry Fontenot in their respective spots in Carolina and Atlanta. But the commissioner may take away one of those picks potentially because of the COVID violations. So, yeah, they're great at drafting, and you're saying, hey, they should draft more because they're so good at it. But if you're drafting more and you're not moving up the way the Saints have, perhaps you're not converting at that same hit rate, one. And two, you don't end up with these players, and this is a year where you don't have those picks because you were able to move up to get such a high hit rate. So, listen, it is a chicken or the egg type question for New Orleans. But the reality is they're at a point right now where everyone knows you can't pay everyone. And so if you want to be able to have a similar run like you just did, obviously you have to answer the quarterback question. But also, you've got to be able to get inexpensive assets, players playing over their contract value, which is what you've had with Lattimore and Ramczyk and Marcus Williams and Alvin Kamara. And until you paid Mike Thomas, you had guys playing at an all-pro caliber level on rookie deals. You need to do that again. The problem is this year, you don't have the picks. It might have to wait until 2022 to have that approach again, which means the Saints very much this year need to again be in win-now mode. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.